Often when we play a new MMO, we don't know what class to play. We choose a class, we play it, we level it, and then we realize we don't actually like this. And this is what I'm going to do today for you. What I already did basically, but I'm going to put it into a video for you where I will show you the job Soulmaster in Lost Ark Online, so you don't have to go through leveling it and then be like, I actually don't like this at all and stuff like that. So I want to show you how Soulmaster plays like, my opinion of Soulmaster, and what makes you want to play the job. Welcome to my channel, my name is Fox and I stream nearly every day on Twitch, where I play mostly MMORPGs like currently Lost Ark Online on the Russian servers before the Western release, and formerly lots of Final Fantasy XIV where I was a top tier high-end raider. I made several class guides and also raid guides. So without further ado, let's jump right into the Soulmaster on Lost Ark Online. The Soulmaster possesses a unique form of martial arts technique. She has mastered the control of her ki energy, which allows her to attack both from melee and range. It's a very mobile class that plays around its big cooldowns in order to dish out a lot of damage in a very small window. It's one of the few classes available at release and has ever since been a very strong choice. In terms of visual and audible appeal, I feel like the Soulmaster literally nails it completely. The skills look very flashy, fun to use and powerful. Add in some really cool sound effects and you got yourself a really fun to play class. Even if you don't really do any damage, you still feel like you do, to be honest. I'm just shortly going to show off the most frequently used skills in a raid scenario. So before I show you this really cool looking explosion, which is by the way the ultimate or awakening as it is referred to, that's kinda your biggest source of damage. Like I said before, you do a lot of damage in a small window, and if you miss, well, let's pretend you won't ever miss. So here is basically summed up how to play Soulmaster properly. Okay, yes, you probably get my point. So for now, let's uncover the other part of the Soulmaster playstyle. Also, for those of you interested, I will show you at the end of the video the most popular skills and builds for the Soulmaster, so make sure to stay tuned. The Soulmaster's identity gauge or special gauge is a ki energy. When you press your Z button, you will enter the first stage, press it again for the second stage, and finally there's even a third stage. All stages do have buffs to your damage and attack speed. After you have depleted the energy from the third stage, you go into some form of cooldown, where you literally hit like a wet noodle basically. So the usage of the gauge is very simple and straightforward. Press it once it's about to run out, and go into the next stage and do damage. The resource that the Soulmaster uses refreshes pretty quickly, as you can see. Still, you are able to run out of energy. In that case, going into the next stage of your ki energy will reset your resource and you can continue to slap whatever boss you are slapping. The Soulmaster also has a very special playstyle, as it basically consists in buffing yourself and also your teammates, but abusing those self buffs. You have a big buff and some smaller buffs. So basically, you want to cycle through your buffs and then combine them with your damage skills. One thing I found out the hard way while testing things on the dummy is that buffs with the same icon do not stack. I should have seen that coming. Before I continue, I have to tell you that there's a different playstyle with certain engravings. Engravings are basically additional buffs or changes to your kit. In the Soulmaster's case, this changes that you immediately enter stage 3 of your ki energy, and then you also have more damage during this phase. This defines your playstyle significantly, which turns it into a rather bursty job with significant downtime. Now that I've explained the basics of the Soulmaster, it's time to share how I personally feel about it, with its positives and negatives. I do believe that the Soulmaster is fun to play. The nuke playstyle, with its ultimate being the focus of the damage, is repetitive, but honestly never gets old. Every single time you hit that awakening, it feels absolutely cool, and seeing a big number will always feel fun no matter what. Timing buffs appropriately with other cooldowns also feels extremely rewarding. The Soulmaster also allows me to easily get out of a bad situation or keep maximum uptime on an enemy that is trying to get away. Now onto the bad parts. Well, missing your awakening surely feels awful. It takes really long to charge, and during that time the boss can easily just walk away. Same goes for an enemy that is doing a mechanic where it forces you to disengage during your burst window. These things can be fixed obviously by having better knowledge of the raid you're attempting. The worst part for me though is the downtime phase. No matter what I'm doing outside of my burst, I feel like I'm useless. Could as well just sit there and wait for my cooldowns to come back up. The difference wouldn't be too big, but I guess that's what it's like to play a burst oriented job. Lastly, let's shortly go over how to play Soulmaster at the endgame. First, the engravings, which are really important for any job in this game. You want to obviously run your class engraving, which is called Heaven Defying Body. Next up is definitely the Awakening engraving, which allows you to spam your ultimate more often and decreases its cooldown. Spirit Absorption is another very fun and good engraving to use on the Soulmaster. It goes without saying that you can and should run other universal engravings like Grudge or Cursed Doll, which will significantly increase your damage output. For the combat stats, you want to pump as much as possible into specialty basically. It increases the damage of your awakening, decreases your downtime, and enhances the damage during your ki explosion. So really, just stack that. Skill wise, I will not go over them all, but instead I'll put a link in the description with all the skills that I'm personally using, which are inspired by Korean builds and the current Russian builds. I do not claim this to be the best build for raids out there. I will also link my build for Chaos Dungeons, aka AoE damage against many small mobs. With that, we're nearing the end of the video. I hope you liked this type of video. I usually do more precise guides explaining more in-depth stuff, but since Lost Ark is not yet out on the Western market, I felt like conveying how I feel about a job might be very interesting, so that you can avoid picking up a job you might not like at all. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing, which helps me a lot. Now for my next video, I need you to tell me what you would like to see. On my screen you can see all the current characters, and you just tell me which one you'd like me to go over in a similar fashion, or for that something completely different about Lost Ark. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Remember, you can catch me nearly every day live on Twitch. Pop in and say hi. Wishing you a great rest of your day, wherever you live.